Welcome back to AM Northwest. Are you considering grad school after college? Here with some do's and don'ts when it comes to applying to grad school, we welcome the author of PH Diva, The Smart Girl's Guide to Graduate School Success, psychologist Dr. Goli Sadie. Always good to see you.
Always great to be here.
Let's talk about the common mistakes when people think about going to grad school.
Absolutely. Well, there are a number of them. You know, one is that oftentimes people really don't start ahead of time.
Yeah, we're not planning ahead.
We're really not. And
aren't you saying that most people decide to go to grad school at the last minute?
They really do, and you need several years, you know, because when you think about it, you need letters of recommendation. So those people need to have known you for a certain period of time. You know, a lot of, especially PhD programs, want research background, and so you really want to make sure you've been on research teams, that you have published, you've presented. You need to apply for grants, things like that, especially if you want to be at a top-notch school and to really be prepared for that. And so really, the more time you take ahead of time, the more it helps you out in the long run.
So think long term.
Absolutely.
So you say start the process, so apply to dozens of, they make the mistake of applying to a lot of schools.
Exactly. You know, you oftentimes hear about the tiered approach. So tier 1, 2, 3, meaning what are the easiest to get to, what are the hardest to get to, sort of the safety and reach schools. But I think that what happens is you really spread yourself too thin. If you focus in on what you really care about, what you're really passionate about, you can really do a customized approach and application for each one. Because you're writing essays for every single school saying, you know, well, I like this faculty member and this is why I'm a good match for them.
Right.
And you can't do that 20 times over, right? And have it seem really genuine and that you're excited about it. So I say really just pick the 5 or 6 that you're interested in. You can go to the websites of those universities and find out where did their current graduate students go to school? What kinds of research did they do ahead of time? So by doing your research well in advance, you have a much better chance of getting in.
You mentioned bringing up a professor that might be teaching there. Is it good to know somebody at the school?
It can, and oftentimes talking to their graduate students can be really helpful, and emailing them and getting a sense, because not every year do professors take on students. So sometimes you might be a top caliber student, but they're just not looking for somebody, or they don't have the funding. And so then you don't need to get discouraged thinking, oh, well, there's something wrong with me.
Right. Another mistake is going it alone. What do you mean by that?
You know, you really need a social support network. Oftentimes the most successful people in life have a network of people that they connect with. Many times we can get really competitive, and we might say, well, I don't want to share my essay with anybody else, right? Because that person could be competing against me. But really just opening up to people, whether it's a family or an advisor, different professors, they can really help you. They can even read over your essays sometimes. They can give you feedback. So you don't have to share everything, but I think it can be really helpful to connect.
I would think that's when you'd want to talk to other students as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, you say we make the mistake of focusing on the numbers.
We do. We get really obsessed with our GPA and with the cutoff scores of GRE, GMAT, you know, whether it's an LSAT, whatever the entrance exam is, many times we can focus so much on just getting the right numbers that we forget that really they're looking at an entire portfolio. So when they're admitting a graduate student, they're not just saying, well, this person has a 4.0. They say, did they do research? Who did they work with? What was their extracurricular activities? And so it really is that entire portfolio they're looking at. So of course, you do need to meet some of the minimum criteria. But you really want to make sure that you're kind of looking holistically at your application. Not
just focusing on your GPA.
Exactly.
Do grad students apply in video now, or is it all still paper and...
To my knowledge, I mean, Elle Woods did the video essay, you know, on TV. But other than that, I have not heard of people doing video.
So it's still the kind of the old-fashioned way of applying, right?
Oftentimes there is a little bit more, though, of the Skype face-to-face as well. So they might do a FaceTime for the interview, and I've heard of that happening much more frequently.
Okay.
And that helps. It cuts down on travel costs as well for applicants.
Okay. You also say people make the mistake of forgetting the big picture.
Yeah, I mean, really taking a step back and saying, why am I doing this, right? Why am I going through this? People can really become a martyr to the application process. And they won't eat, they won't sleep, they don't exercise, they don't take care of themselves, and they become really frenzied and harried throughout the process. And I think graduate school is such an exciting time. You know, it was a time of, you know, my life that I really loved and was passionate about. And so I think thinking about, you know, I want to do this to become a psychologist or a sociologist, anthropologist, an English professor, whatever it is that you want to do. And to think about, you know, this is a journey, and I want to take it in that way, you know.
So take a step back and don't stress the small stuff. Take a look at the big picture.
Yeah, make sure you're staying healthy, because, you know, you are going to be traveling across the country to visit these programs, and you want to be well rested, and you might be in groups of applicants, so you want to make sure that you're doing well.
Okay, so I want to tell everyone again, the name of the book is, title of the book is PH Diva, The Smart Girl's Guide to Graduate School Success. Goli Sadie, good to see you again.
Good to be here. Thank you.